Thank you for joining Epic Talks today, Quinton. We're going to talk a bit about the current trends and issues in cybersecurity and get to know you a little bit. So, should we
Okay.
start with you and how you first got into cyber and sort of where you started to get to your current sales director, sales operations level now?
Yeah, sure. I started with a local firm, a company called ESET, which is now the third largest endpoint security vendor, third largest globally, and the largest from European shores. At that point, the UK branch was a very small 10-person office, which was an exclusive distributor for ESET, and I joined to build out their marketing function and remained with them over 11 years. And by the time I left, we'd gone through a buyout with the global company that decided the UK branch should come under the global banner,
Mm.
and was sales operations director. So in my time there, I'd gone through from sales to from marketing through to sales and marketing combined, across into pure sales, and then into sales operations.
So, what made you want to go into cybersecurity in the first place?
It was more the interest of going into a small firm and having an impact within their marketing. At the stage when everybody had antivirus or anti-spam or anti-spyware, and that was kind of the stage that cybersecurity had got to. And obviously, in the last 15 years, it's gone on leaps and bounds from the old traditional signature-based software. It was less so wanting to be in cybersecurity and more wanting to have a good, strong marketing role that took me into it.
Okay. And then what sort of kept you on your journey? Were you just really enjoying
Yeah, I mean, cyber is here to stay. It seems to me there's a natural progression from people in distributor roles that want to go across onto vendor side.
yeah.
I landed in the vendor side. And really, it's once you build a skill set and a reputation and a set of capabilities, it makes sense to stay within a growing industry.
That makes sense. And did you have any kind of struggles on your journey throughout, I guess, to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
there's never a quiet period. There are always challenging times when you get the fabled blue screen of death on your software, and you have to backpedal and look after clients as best you can.
Yeah.
Any vendor that tells you they're 100%, secure, 100% safe would be lying. 99% should be the aim. So there are always going to be these challenges where something falls over, and I think for me, the key measure of a company is how it deals with the challenges that come along when you drop the ball, when you let a client down, or when you're working with partners, channel partners, and they let their clients down due to your accidents, your mishaps. That's a real measure of a company and a sales and account team as to how you then handle it and look after the client.
Do you have any tips or kind of advice to people wanting to break into cyber or switch industries into cyber?
I think I'm an advocate that the skill set that they bring, in theory, is relevant across the board. So
Mhm.
whether or not you've been selling widgets or gadgets, you should, in theory, have the same capabilities, whether you're account managing in one industry or another.
Yeah.
It comes down to your attitude towards your work. Obviously, when you start working with enterprise clients, they expect you to know really what you're talking about from the get-go.
Yeah.
So really, for someone trying to get into the industry, it may be looking for companies that work in SMB. SME aren't handling the big FTSE style companies where you have to already have a fair amount of technical experience.
Yeah.
Certainly, a technical background helps. From a sales side, some of the best salespeople I've worked with have been pre-sales engineers, and they still are. Yet they are very, very good at selling, and it comes down to their capabilities and ability to talk to the client. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think to get into the industry from the get-go, either get your technical skills up
Mhm.
or start off with a smaller vendor where they're not dealing necessarily with enterprise clients. There are plenty of courses available for people to get the basics,
Yeah.
either that are vendor agnostic,
Yeah.
or generic. So really, there's lots that can be done in the meantime. But yeah, it's a good industry to get into, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for your insight on that. That's really helpful. And moving on to your experience a bit more as a sales director, sales operations in today's market, and having worked for various vendors, would you say what kind of key challenges would you say you faced when taking particular new products to market?
The key challenges have always come from the vendor themselves, and predominantly it's a lack of understanding of the UK channel. In one instance, it's a lack of understanding of the EMEA, European channel. Certainly, even within the UK, vendors don't understand that when you're working with a channel partner, the focus isn't the product and isn't your own sales processes. The focus must very much be supporting the channel partner and supporting their business. And it's only through that that you can really grow a loyal and robust channel.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas many vendors kind of take the approach that the channel are honored to have our software, and it's the other way around. We should be honored as a vendor. You should be honored that the channel will actually sell the software through. They're staking their businesses and their reputations and their livelihoods on the software and services that they're selling. So I think there needs to be a big switch in the mentality that the channel is more important than the vendors themselves. When someone has a short-term focus and wants to engage with the channel, it doesn't always go that hand in hand. If you want to build a loyal channel, it takes time. It takes reputation. It takes a lot of trust, especially in cybersecurity. That I've seen the channel change from purchasing and selling individual annual licenses to wanting to offer a bundled MSSP style service, where the vendor then has to change possibly even the back end systems to allow for the right structure of billing, the right structure of licensing, and has to get their head out of the annual renewal space that they may have lived in for quite a while. It does make a change. And with more and more small MSPs or value-added resellers wanting to become MSPs and offer their services as a recurring revenue, the vendors do need to change the way in which they can be integrated into bundles, into packages, into RMM systems. And this is a change which the vendors need to make, because the market will go that way. And any vendors who decide to remain as a standalone product or service are going to really struggle.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're seeing as well the vendors developing those more integrated platforms to kind of close the skills gap as well, that is a massive problem that's talked about all across the world at the moment in cyber. So what role would you say that technology has in closing that global skills gap?
The use of technology to make things simpler, easier, and safer is becoming more and more and more apparent. Looking at cybersecurity specifically, with fewer and fewer highly qualified, adept cybersecurity professionals in place, and with the cost of those professionals going up, you'll find that the smaller end of the market, the SMBs and the SMEs, that they will need to insource the ability to shore up their cybersecurity. And you'll also then find that the MSPs themselves may struggle to get in that caliber of member of staff who can undertake that work across a breadth of companies. Yes. So it turns into a space where technology has to do most of the heavy lifting. Either that, or you end up with the SOC as a service becoming a bigger and bigger thing, where you can plug it into a 5-person company without too much rigmarole or too much expense. And then the technology running a SOC is paramount, as well as the skills of the people there. So technology is going to keep becoming more and more important, but it'll never get to a space in my working career where it's not required to be run by people at the end of the day.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, let's hope.
Definitely. And just kind of going back to your role as sales director and building up sales teams, I guess this is coming from a recruitment background, this question a bit more. What key challenges do you face or do you think hiring managers face with building their sales teams at the moment?
The biggest challenge is going to be the expected salaries that need to be paid from the board and the expected salaries that need to be paid by candidates. So there's a bit of a disparity. If you want experienced people, you have to pay good money for it.
Yeah.
That said, you can get less experienced and they can be well trained. They can be well supported by their systems and supported and coached by their management. And you can still build a very good sales team without the need to go and try and compete with the really big boys who are paying quite generous salaries out there. So really, as long as the expectations from a board level can be managed, then there shouldn't be a concern about building out a team of one sort or another. It becomes you need time or money. If you've got lots of money, you can buy in the experience. If you don't have much money, you have to buy lesser experience, and then you need time for that experience to grow out. So it's a time and money balance at the end of the day. I would advocate, if someone has at all the ability, grow your own talent and grow it from within as well. Otherwise, we'll end up with a load of experienced people who retire and no one else to fill their shoes.
Yeah, that's interesting. And to kind of end on another inspiring note, other than what you've said already, and with Epic Talks being this platform for extraordinary people within cybersecurity to kind of voice their views, are there any people in your life that have inspired you in your journey in cybersecurity, or just in general in life?
Probably only 2 or 3 people that I've worked very closely with. Some have been my boss. Some are people that I have managed that have gone on to do, fantastic jobs. And I find them to be, really worth looking at. Having said that, I've just come from a company where I was working with a team where they're all relatively young compared to me and less experienced, but nonetheless inspirational in the insight they might have, or the activities, or the dedication they have. So I don't think inspiration is only drawn from people who have a personal brand and a personal reputation. I think you can draw inspiration from people around you in your own team and in your own company. And that's where you really, I find I look for my inspiration, is closer to home than someone who's got a big following on LinkedIn and is a personal brand.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't ever see one single role model as my kind of God that I follow. It's always a combination from everybody that you meet, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Where you are. Yeah, definitely. Okay, brilliant. And have you got any last kind of comments about your views on the market at the moment and cybersecurity's kind of future vision?
Yeah, I think nothing that I haven't already said. Cybersecurity will continue to grow. It's an industry that does need lots of talent. There is a gap in skills. There's a gap in bums in seats. And I think if it's at all of interest, I think people who are coming out of university into the workplace should really look at it and consider it seriously, because it's going to be constantly growing, and the UK does need more and more people to come into this field in the future.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time today, Quinton. It was really great to have you on Epic Talks and get to know you a little bit better.